We had some interesting conversation regarding the rules review, and so this question was submitted. Could you give a clarification about who reviews what? Does a rule get reviewed both in a committee of the House and in the Senate? Then does the floor approve the work of the committees, and is there the opportunity for a minority report at that time? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tony Wisniewski. I'm a freshman legislator in the House of Representatives from District 3. That's Post Falls, Rathdrum, and Worley. I'll give this question an attempt for an answer. Right now, Idaho is one of about 3 states that has the right to review rules that are passed by the administrative agencies. So in a particular year, the legislature passes certain laws. The agencies take those laws and derive their rules for everyday usage. And then the following legislative session, the legislature gets to review the rules that they wrote. So they're very clear. They come to us in a packet, and we look at them group by group. They're called dockets that we review. It's very clear as to the language that they have changed from their previous rules. They show the additions in red and the deletions in different colors. So they have deletions and additions. And the legislature has the right to be able to either accept everything in its entirety or delete sections. Now, we can't go in and change words in a particular paragraph, but we have the right to delete an entire paragraph or a subsection, anything down to, a particular letter, indent, paragraph. Each committee is given the rules that correspond to the committee. So I'm on the Education Committee as well as 2 other committees. So we review all of the rule changes that the Department of Education has promulgated, and we get to review all of those. Once we have reviewed them, do not go on to the general floor of the House or to the Senate. Now, at the same time, the Senate has an Education Committee as well, and they review the rules. One of the shortcomings that we have now in the legislature is that if the House decides that one of the rules is onerous or is not staying within the intent of the law that was passed the previous year, but the Senate approves it, the rule is approved by default. There is a bill that's going through the House now that will change that, and if it passes, it requires a positive affirmation of the rules from both houses before those rules become effective for those agencies. Right now, there's a technique, a process that none of the committee members are in favor of, and that is a committee chairman can put a bill or a docket into his drawer and not even have it heard. Under the current system, or even under the current system, if there is language in that rule that gets stuck in the chairman's drawer that the committee doesn't like, the rule will pass because it has not been rejected. So it's kind of a double negative. We're going to try and prevent that practice from happening, at least as far as the rules are concerned in the future, so that they're, like I said before, we have to have a positive affirmation from both houses in order to pass that rule into effect. And this is really, what's that? Yes, so if either house rejects it, it automatically gets rejected. That answers the question. There's a question in the back.
Yeah, tell me.
No, we don't.
You said,
Don,
clarification.
we need to have it in writing, please. I'm sorry, Don, but that's.
Tony had a great explanation on how that works. Jim Addis, District 4, I'm on Rev and Tax, Transportation, and Natural Resources. Right now, there is a fee rule, a rule that increases a fee, and remember that a fee has to be based in facts. It can't be something that you want to charge someone. You have to demonstrate what service costs that you are going to charge a fee for, then you can charge that fee. A fee rule requires both Senate and House to pass a fee rule. And where it's really important, and one of my committees, Rev and Tax, we were really busy in the beginning of the session because there's a lot of tax commission rules. And the tax commission people really try to do a good job. I think they're working really hard. I think some of the things that come out of tax commission we really don't like. And so in Rev and Tax, we do a lot of rules analysis. In fact, we're doing a joint resolution here, or a resolution to reject a full series of tax commission rules, which is very nice because they would really impact our citizenry terribly. And through those rule reviews, also, we can then see there are areas where we then will have to go to statute to change rules. And some of those things in Rev and Tax that don't affect northern Idaho now, but affect southern Idaho, but could affect northern Idaho, is we're finding assessors in various counties are able to assess similar farm equipment, for example. One in Bonneville County and one in Canyon County, you have the same piece of equipment. The assessor has the ability to value them differently, and that greatly affects your taxes. And again, the assessors are trying to do really good. It's up to the legislature to make sure we tighten up the laws, make sure everybody knows what we want, so that we don't have those variations, because that becomes unfair for people. So that combination of reviewing those rules and then looking where you have to enact statute to strengthen our process really works well for Idaho.
I just wanted to tailgate on, Tony did a real good job about explaining the rule process. If one body approves it and it goes to the other body, what the bill that's currently in process, it will prevent one person from having veto power in the legislature. It's not a chairman's job to have veto power over a whole body, so, thank you.
And I want to weigh on this just a little bit. One of the things I need to clear up, and it's something I just learned, I've been in legislature a long time. There are only 3 states that have the constitutional authority to review and reject rules. Veto rules is the official term. There's actually 41 states that review rules, 28 states that have the ability to veto rules, but only 3 states have it through the Constitution, and one of those, and that's because you passed that into law in the 2018 election. So thank you for that. And once the rules have been reviewed, there's one resolution comes through to accept all the rules that have been accepted, and another resolution comes through to reject all the rules that have been rejected. So in fact, both houses do get to vote on the rules, and if there's a rule that went through that you didn't think should gone through, you can vote against that resolution. It typically still passes with large majorities, but you do have the ability to vote against it. And then the primary reason I wanted to say something on this is just this week in the Senate, we passed a resolution that's headed to the House that requests that the United States Congress pass a constitutional amendment that gives themselves the ability to review and reject federal regulations, because we are a country now that is almost governed by regulations. According to a 2012 study, regulations cost this country $2 trillion. So it's a huge impact. Our ability to review we call them rules, the federal government, they call them regulations, but our ability, I think, is very important. Actually, a former staffer for U.S. Senator Craig is the co-sponsor of this bill that I carried in the Senate. He's going to carry it in the House. And it's just asked Congress to do this. 28 states have passed a similar resolution. And so we're just trying to put a little pressure on Congress to get them to have that same authority.
Ask the question about bills being held. If not, I want to
Go ahead and do it.
This isn't directly related to rules, which has been a very frustrating process, especially for the freshmen. But how many of you realize that a committee chairman can take a bill that someone has proposed and stick it in a drawer and not even have a committee hearing on it? So right now, I'll tell you, there's only one committee chairman that anybody in Kootenai County got a chance to vote for, and that's Ron Mendive. And because of the situation now where a committee chairman who can stick a bill in a drawer and not have it considered, none of you have any representation really in your government in Boise, with the exception of Ron, who gives great latitude for people to get their opinions heard. But some of the bills that we've had, some very important bills, one that I'm working on now that's probably the most, if I were to stay in the legislature for 30 years, I will never work on a bill more important than this one. And we've had a committee chairman that has refused to even let us bring the RS to have it turned into a bill, to get a bill number. And that's just got to stop. So our Kootenai County voters should be incensed that we have no voice, because the committee chairman can overrule the will of the people in Kootenai County and stick every bit of legislation, no matter how good it is, in a drawer, and it will never see the light of day. That's got to stop.
Okay, this is a follow-up